Hey guys, welcome back to the New Tennis Era podcast. My name's Anthony Hirsch, and today I'm going to be talking about the Davis Cup results that we just saw. I will also be previewing the Laver Cup. I'll be going over the weekly power rankings that I do on this podcast, and also I will cap off the podcast talking about the Sinner Alcaraz dominance, particularly of the Grand Slams, and talking about the 90s generation. Will they ever be able to get another slam, and will anybody else from this generation of the Sinner Alcaraz generation be able to get a slam? I'll go over players from both of those generations and seeing who all has a chance. That will cap off this week's episode. So I'm going to start with the Davis Cup results. This week was the Davis Cup qualifiers. The 8 teams that qualified: Argentina, Austria, Belgium, Czech Republic, France, Germany, Italy, and Spain. There were a few surprises I felt like in the Davis Cup results this week, but the biggest came in Belgium versus Australia, where Rafael Kalinian continued to be an absolute Belgian hero and took out Alex de Minaur, who I always think of as one of the most consistent players on the tour. And he's been in pretty decent form. But yeah, Kalinian doing the same thing to de Minaur that he did to Casper Ruud at the US Open. This is maybe a guy that we should be paying more attention to. Definitely catching the attention of tennis fans this week at the Davis Cup. Also going down in Davis Cup this week were Holger Rune and Stefanos Tsitsipas. Tsitsipas not playing with Greece for the qualifying spots, but still an entertaining match against Fonseca. He was a game away from winning that one, and it quickly got away from him at the end as Fonseca took it 7-5 in the third set. It's another close battle that Tsitsipas had a chance of winning and just not being able to get through, and it just feels like Tsitsipas he's not doing well at the moment at all. Not even just for his standards. He's just not winning many matches. He had a great tournament in Dubai earlier this year, and since then, after I felt like he was going to start finding his best level again, if not playing the best tennis he's played, like I felt like he maybe was in that Dubai event. Since then, I don't know if it's the injury that he cited or what, but his results have not been there. And Holger Rune, match point against Martinez, actually match point to send Denmark into the finals, and it's Spain. Martinez saves match point on Rune's serve, 5-4 in the third. A must-need win for Martinez there, and Spain qualified at the end of the day. Amazing comeback there that brings back memories to Davis Cup finals a few years ago, where Sinner saved 3 match points against Novak and ended up sending Italy to the finals. But yeah, Kalinian's been clutch. He's been good. He sealed the deal there for Belgium, but yeah, a few surprises this week, and in terms of Rune and Tsitsipas, it just feels like it's more on them. They don't have the confidence at all. There's so much that needs to be improved when it comes to Rune. He's such a great overall, he's like a list of ingredients, and they're all good ingredients, but they're mixed in all the wrong ways. So that just, it seems so far away from where he needs to be and where he can be to really maximize on his talents. Not even shaking hands with the umpire at the end of that match. Was upset about a double bounce call, but I think he was even more upset that he wasn't able to convert a match point on his serve, which is an extension of him just being upset that he's not winning matches, period. He's not winning that many matches. So those two guys need to step up. Mensik lost a couple matches, although he played a great match in doubles, I thought, with Mahac, even though they lost that to Raymond Krajicek in 3 sets. That was a really high-level match that I was happy that I was able to watch some of that. Again, doubles being entertaining when you give it the spotlight to be entertaining. The Davis Cup atmosphere always provides. Great stuff. And then Mensik just showing up against Tiafoe. Tiafoe far from his best. Definitely the energy was not there from France's side either for whatever reason, but Mensik showed up big, and Tiafoe just couldn't have any answers for it. Good results for Lehečka continuing. I put him in the power rankings last week. He got the 10th spot in the power rankings, and he kind of proved that decision right this week for sure. Taking out Tiafoe and then taking out Taylor Fritz, a revenge win when they had 3 tiebreakers in a high-level match, I believe in Cincinnati a couple weeks ago. Rinderknecht continues to have good results. Something else I want to mention, in terms of favorites at Davis Cup, Italy is just so far and away, to me, a favorite, not even just necessarily for this year, but just for the next 5 or 6 years, foreseeable favorite. You never know how things might change in tennis, that's definitely true, but the thing that amazes me, well, there are 3 things. One of them is obvious. They have Jannik Sinner, who's certainly one of the 2 best players in the world. That's not arguable. One of the 2 best players in the world. They have incredible depth, which is also obvious. But the third thing is, they have so many young guys that are still improving. Flavio Caboli is having the best year of his career, and this is probably not the best he's going to get. You have Sinner, Musetti, Caboli, Darderi, Sonego, Bertini, Matteo Bellucci, Matteo Arnaldi, Luca Nardi, and then, listen, you have other talented guys down there like Passaro, Maestrelli, Zapiri. I'm sure I didn't pronounce all of their names perfectly, but they have so many players. And then also you talk about the doubles, Bolelli and Vavasori. It's just almost unfair, almost unplayable. For me, teams that have a chance of stopping them, Spain, obviously Alcaraz makes it difficult too, and they have some other good players, Fokina as well, and some others. And then I'd also give a shout to France, France as well, because they do have a good depth on their side if they have their players in form. I mentioned Rinderknecht earlier. He's just yet another name that France has that is impressive. But those are 3 teams that I would mention, but Italy far and away the favorite for me. No doubt about it, because even though France has good depth on their side with Bonzi, Moutet, Muller, Pericard, Humbert, Fils, and Rinderknecht, Manarino, multiple others, Monfils, Ottman, they have a lot of great players, but Kazao even, but they don't have a Jannik Sinner, they don't have a Carlos Alcaraz, and they don't even have a Taylor Fritz. So that's the problem that France is dealing with. So we'll see. I think Italy is a big favorite yet again to take it. And then I also want to touch upon Laver Cup and previewing Laver Cup. I think, honestly, that it seems to me like this is on paper going to be very one-sided, and it wouldn't be the first time for Laver Cup that this would be this way. It's not. I'm not blaming the event. Ben Shelton pulled out, Tommy Paul pulled out, Francis Tiafoe pulled out. Those are all players that have had success at the Laver Cup before. I remember Shelton beating Alcaraz. I can't remember who he was partnering with, but beat Alcaraz last year in doubles and was having great results. Was one of the big factors that made that close last year in Laver Cup. But my one issue with Laver Cup, here are my thoughts on Laver Cup. First of all, is that there's so many cups, right? I'm a big fan of Davis Cup. I love the prestige and history on it. I love the atmosphere it brings. I'm always backing Davis Cup. So for me, that one is my favorite. But I do like Laver Cup. There's so many cups, but Laver Cup is still a unique event. Obviously, the aesthetic, the all black. Also the prestige of it, the names attached, and the more I think about it, it's unique the way in which the players, you see their personalities, not just in their jest and humor and the way that they interact with each other, which is entertaining in multiple aspects, but also in the competition, them coaching each other. It's kind of unique, honestly, in that way. It feels like a celebration of the game and all the great things about it. So you can make great arguments for what Laver Cup has to offer. Really, the only thing to me bringing it down is the fact that some years it's just too one-sided. I mean, we've seen that in multiple times in years past. We've seen 13-1 victories. We've seen like 13-2. Even for Team World, I think won 13-2 a couple of years ago. That's one of just 2 times in 7 editions that Team World won. They didn't win any of the first, I believe, five editions, or first 4 editions. So sometimes it's too one-sided, and it has to do. Obviously, it wasn't always this way. I mean, I guess I'm assuming most people watching would know, but Team World at one point with the United States, with Australia, etc., they were dominating the sport. But it's not like that in the 21st century at all. It's not even close. Sinner, Alcaraz, and the Big Four are all from Europe. So it's just that kind of a thing. Obviously, Laver Cup trying to take after Ryder Cup, but it's just not really working right now. They can do they'll do what they can to format it so that it's close, and we'll see how it goes. But my problem is with this lineup. Just looking at the lineup that we have Fritz, De Minaur, Cerundolo, all good players, solid players. Even though De Minaur and Fritz are kind of up and down form right now, especially De Minaur just lost to Kalinian. Then you have Alex Mickelson, João Fonseca, Riley Opelka, who by all means are good players, but then you have Alcaraz, Zverev, Kaboli, who's been in form, Menzik, Ruud, and Rune. To me, Europe is just so, on paper, such a more favorited team here that it's not that compelling to me purely on like unpredictability. Alex Mickelson I always think is underrated. João Fonseca, he likes the big moments. He likes the atmosphere. I could see him stepping up here and being a factor. Riley Opelka, I wouldn't be surprised if he causes an upset, you know. But listen, when you compare it to the Team Europe, with Menzik, Kaboli, Zverev, Alcaraz, and then you have high-level players like Rune and Ruud, who, especially Rune, I feel like will step up to the moment. And Ruud as well, even though last year he didn't have the best success at this event, I still feel like they both can do better in this kind of team atmosphere. I just feel like it's going to be a completely one-sided blowout, to be honest. So that's just how I feel. And it also has to do with the form. Like Kaboli is in form. Alcaraz is obviously the best player in the world. Zverev he's not winning titles, but he's still consistently making quarters, semis, if not, quarters and semis really basically is what he's doing. And Fritz is not in his best form. Last year was closer than expected. Team Europe still won. That was partly due to some big upsets, especially over Medvedev. But I feel like this Europe team is even better, and I especially feel like Team World is not as strong. Last year was Fritz off of a US Open final. It was Tiafoe off a US Open semifinal, etc., etc. Even Tabilo was playing well at the time and was causing some upsets. So I don't know. To me, this year is about as uninterested, just on paper, as I've been in terms of who's going to win. And I know people will say like, oh, in 2022, Team Europe was big favorite with the Big Four, but I can show receipts of me saying before that tournament started that I thought Team World had a good chance of winning it. I legitimately predicted that I think people are underrating Team World's chances. I don't know if I full out chose them to win, but I remember specifically saying they have a good chance of winning this, because I didn't think that Rafa was in good form at the US Open. Federer hasn't played in a year. Murray's not been doing that. Like, at the time, I remember I thought were overrating Team Europe's quality and underrating Team World's quality at the time. So to me, this one is the one where I feel like it's about as uninterested as I've been, just in terms of unpredictability. Fonseca will be fun to watch. He's always flashy, fun to watch. I always enjoy him. And hopefully I'm proven wrong by this. Noah and Agassi are coaching for the first time, which is pretty interesting. I like them as coaches. I think Yannick Noah has a fun personality that contrasts Agassi in a similar way of Borg and McEnroe. That could be compelling as well in a way. I almost I would love to see Federer versus Agassi as coaches for Laver Cup. It would be amazing to see Federer as a coach at some time. Or even Federer versus Hewitt. I always thought that those would be great combinations at some point to see. So we'll see if that ever happens. But yeah, if I'm making predictions, Davis Cup, Italy crushes the field, wins Davis Cup for like the next 6 years. I'm picking them to win this year, and then Laver Cup, I'm gonna say Team World just absolutely blows. Team Europe absolutely blows Team World out of the water, and like I said, partially that has to do with especially Shelton not being able to play because of his injury. But that's my prediction there. Going on to the weekly power rankings, I've got a lot of this the same as last week. We haven't had any tour level events on the men's side. We've just had Davis Cup. But number 1 Alcaraz, 2 Sinner, 3 Djokovic, 4 Shelton. I have Felix Auger-Aliassime moving up to number 5. Fritz drops down. That has to do with Fritz losing to Lehechka. He's just been so up and down. Felix had a good result in Cincinnati. He was playing incredible at the US Open, so I feel like top 5 is fine right now for him because nobody else is really stepping up. Number 8, Yuri Lehechka, who moves up 2 spots. He's been one of the more consistent players, deserves a shout out. Also partially because nobody else is really moving up in front of him, but he's been playing consistently well, so he deserves that. At the moment, number 9, Alexander Bublik, and then number 10, I have Demonor dropping out of the power rankings, and in his place, I put Karin Khachanov. I'm a little bit surprised I put Karin in. I didn't know who else to put in. I didn't feel like Demonor really fully deserved the spot. I mean, yes, he won a title in Washington. Quarters in US Open, also a good result. He didn't beat any seeded players at the US Open, to make that clear, but still, you have to beat who's in front of you. The players he beat either beat the seeds or beat players that beat the seeds. So, like I say, you can only play the players in front of you. But I feel like that result against Kalinian just kind of, it pretty much drops you out of the top 10. Kalinian playing great, but to me, Karin Khachanov, great result at Wimbledon, incredible quality and level at Canada, so I feel like he deserves that credit. Only lost to Zverev after just being completely tired from Canada. Lost to Zverev at Cincinnati. He had a bad loss with 5 match points to hope I'm pronouncing the name even close to correctly, Matrzak, Polish player at the US Open first round. But that being said, I kind of want to give Khachanov that credit. For me, he's the only other player I could have thought of putting in this position. Players to watch, I have Rafael Kalinian, because not just this week in Davis Cup, but also the upset over Ruud at the US Open. Feels like he deserves the credit. Artur Rinderknecht, I deserve to give a shout out as well, because he's been having some good results recently. And also Jakub Mensik, who I just always am very high on. I really liked his level against Tifo. Brought it when it mattered the most. I also liked how he played in the doubles. And he just scares me. He's like 6'5", and he's one of the best 6'5" movers you'll see. He's improving quickly. He's got a fantastic backhand, good movement for his height, incredible serve. I like that. He's just a good athlete. The physicality that he brings, I feel like he's improving the forehand. He needs to have more variation. I feel like at times I like his net game. So there are parts of it that I like, but there's certainly a lot of places where he can improve. But he's already a Masters 1000 winner over Djokovic in straight sets in the final, and he's already done some good things. So the fact that he has so much to improve is only scary, I think. So I'm always high on Jakub Mensik, and that transitions me into talking about the last topic that I want to get to today, which is who's going to be able to stop Sinner and Alcaraz. I'm going to start with the generation of Sinner Alcaraz, or at least players that were born in the 2000s. And just seeing who can stop Sinner and Alcaraz, and then I'll talk about the 90s players who, if any of them have a chance at winning a slam. The 90s generation has only won 2 slams, which is nuts. 3 players in the 80s generation by themselves won 66. The record before they came along was 14 for one player. which is nuts. The 90s generation has won 2. Team and Medvedev. And Team won. Djokovic was defaulted, and I believe Rafa and Roger didn't play that slam. But a slam is a slam. That being said. But the 90s generation only has 2 to their name, which is crazy. So I'll talk about the 90s generation, which players have the best chances of adding another slam, if anyone. In terms of the 2000s generation, a lot of things are unknown right now. A lot of these guys are very young. Like Menzig just turned 20. Fonseca is still just starting his career. Then you talk about a guy like Lerner Tien, who in the world knows how good he's going to be. Like, it's very hard to tell right now. So a lot of things are unknown. A lot of things are personal bias, or maybe just matches of certain young players that you've watched more than others. I feel like more than anything else. There's a lot of talk these days about Ben Shelton ending up as the 3rd best player behind Sinner and Alcaraz. Personally, I don't believe that. I think Shelton has slam winning capabilities and potential, no doubt. Does that mean I think he'll be number 3 behind Sinner and Alcaraz? I do not think so. He's in great form right now. What's impressive about Shelton is his fearlessness. He has the ambition to get there. And he has so much to improve, which is partly what I said about Menzig, but he has so much to improve, even with the serve, which is already monstrous. And that's only scary with how much further he can go. He's a great mover for his height and for his game, but obviously he doesn't move anywhere close to Sinner or Alcaraz. And in best of 5, in the big points so far in his career, he just hasn't quite been able to crack it to the level of Sinner and Alcaraz. He hasn't been to a slam final. We'll see. Jack Draper also hasn't been, but he's been injured, honestly, for the last part of this year. Otherwise, he's had a fantastic season. This is a guy that's just been improving every single year, so I would not count out Draper. Yes, he had a couple bad losses at the French and at Wimbledon, although the French Bublik played out of his mind. Draper had a bad loss to Cilic at Wimbledon, no doubt, but I would not count out Draper in this conversation. To me, he's one of the best chances. Musetti, I think, is an underrated name here, but I don't think his ceiling is as high. And then other players, Rune, Lehechka, Menzig. Rune was the guy that everybody thought was going to be this Djokovic type that comes in. But now that seems very unlikely. He has the talent to be on the level of Sinner and Alcaraz, but he has the talent and at times complete looking game and surface versatile game that looks like it can be, at least hold a candle to what Sinner and Alcaraz are bringing. At times it does look that way, but he's just so far from this finished, like I said, he's got all the ingredients, but they're all not mixed together in the right way at all. Fils, I think, is an underrated name here in the conversation, no doubt. Fonseca definitely needs to be mentioned. He's an outrageous talent and very young as well. So those are most of the names that I would think to mention. Arnaldi, I would mention as well as a great young player. To me, Menzig, Draper, and Fonseca are the 3 that, for me, I am looking at the most as a potential 3rd, to be honest. I mentioned why I think Menzig is so great already, especially if he can keep improving. I think mentally is some of his biggest problems. He's had problems particularly closing and finishing off sets, but we saw Sinner have similar things early on in his career as well. We've seen different players have that kind of an issue and then figure it out later with match experience, especially in the big moments, and especially with what Menzig's already achieved. To me, I'm not thinking that that's gonna end up defining his career. I could be proven wrong. Draper, I just think, is so talented, and he's also got the great ambitious mindset where he wants to challenge himself and push himself to the level of Sinner and Alcaraz, which is great. and Fonseca. I kind of, at this point, don't think Fonseca is going to. I would bet more on Draper or Menzik, but part of the reason he's so young and inexperienced, so we'll see how he does. Feast, like I said, I think should be mentioned more often. He's one of the most talented players. I think he's going to end up with one of the best highlight reels of anybody, active names. He can crack a shot from the back of the court out of nowhere just for a winner. And he's got a game that I think is underrated. So yeah, I think those are some of the players that I would name the most. Feast is yet to have big success in big events, which that needs to change, and that's not really a good sign for him early on in his career. That's part of the reason that I picked the other three names above him so far, because as far as I'm concerned, Fonseca beat Rublev in straight sets, his first match of a Grand Slam tournament he played. I can't even remember Feast having a win like that at a Grand Slam level. I'm positive I could be remembering something, forgetting something, I mean. But yeah, for me, I'd be like Menzik, then Draper, then Fonseca would be like the three players with a chance. Menzik, I do think, is going to win a few slams. Draper, I think, is going to win at least one or two. I think he has chances on grass court and hard court particularly, no doubt. I think he has big chances on both to win a slam, maybe particularly on hard courts, just because, well, actually, I don't know. Maybe at like at the Australian Open or something. The reason I was saying that is because Sinner and Alcaraz are both so incredible on grass courts. It's going to be very difficult to beat them. Grass is more unpredictable. I guess compared to his regular standards, we've seen Alcaraz every now and again on grass in the last couple of years have like an off match maybe, or an off set. The final against Sinner in the last couple of sets, but Sinner played amazing. TFO was very close to taking him out last year, but I say that, and also Alcaraz sometimes just looks like a grass god out there, just the way he moves on the surface and controls the court. So it's maybe more to do with the unpredictability of grass than anything. I mean, Alcaraz, I'm not going to sit here and say Alcaraz isn't an amazing grass player, because he is. So it's going to be really interesting and hard to say. For me, Menzik is the guy that I back the most, though. To me, he has that X factor, and we'll see if he proves me wrong or right. And I do like him more than Yuri Lehechka. Lehechka almost reminds me of Tomas Berdych, who's an amazing player, but is the kind of player that beats everybody below like the top 5 or maybe top 10, but just can't crack the top guys almost all the time. That was Berdych. He made every Masters semifinal ever. I mean, he probably made almost as many Masters semis as Andy Murray, which is, if you know how many Andy Murray reached, then you know that that's one of the biggest compliments. But he wasn't able to win 14 Masters titles like Murray, or he wasn't able to win over 75% of his matches like Murray, or get to 11 slam finals, whatever else. He was not able to beat the best a big majority of the time. In fact, I think Djokovic's head-to-head record against Berdych is the biggest gap between wins and losses in a head-to-head. So Berdych just not able to really beat the top guys enough of the times to, which was a big juxtaposition with the consistency he had. Now talking about the 90s generation, well, just to cap off on that, I mean, players there that I think are going to win slams. Shelton, I think likely he's going to win like 1 slam. If I was to predict right now, Draper, I could see him winning like 2 slams. At some point, both of those, I don't know if that's going to happen over the next couple of years. I really don't think so. They still have long ways to go till then. And Draper needs to be healthy as well. Menzik, I could see him winning a slam at any point. I'm very high on this guy. Like I said, he's still improving a lot. So maybe towards the tail end of next year to even 2027, we might see him step up. Feast, I don't know. At this point, it doesn't seem that likely. We'll see if that changes. I could see that changing. He also hasn't been healthy. Fonseca is complete wild card. He's the wild card here. I have no idea. I could see him winning no slams. I could see him winning. I could see him winning a lot. Just with his talent. 90s players, some of the players I have listed, Zverev, Fritz, Dimitrov, Demonor is a player that you don't often think of as a 90s player. Tommy Paul is a 90s player. Medvedev obviously is a 90s guy. Who has a chance here of winning a slam? To me, Zverev, if he would have won a slam, he would have already won a slam. I've said that before, I'm going to stick by it. If he was to win a slam, he would have already done it. And I'm not just talking about the U.S. Open either. I think the Australian Open last year, 2024, he had a great chance. He was 2 sets to love up on Medvedev. He's 2 points away, in prime position to win it, and he just didn't do enough. He didn't do enough. He would have had, I thought, a good chance against Sinner in the final. Sinner's first major final, Zverev experience. He had just beaten Sinner at the U.S. Open. I thought that was, on paper, one of Zverev's best chances, if not his best, to win a slam. Probably his best with that U.S. Open, obviously, because he was pretty much in position to do it in the final. But he's had chances, 2 sets to 1 up on Alcaraz. To me, if Zverev would have done it, he would have. It was to do it, he was going to do it. Mentally, I just don't know if he can cross that line in best of 5 at the majors. Taylor Fritz, it seems unlikely. He's one of those guys that is very good. He's kind of like Tomas Berdych in the way that I just mentioned, in which he can beat pretty much everybody outside the top 5, but very rarely can beat players inside the top 5 unless he's playing Sasha Zverev. He basically needs, in my opinion, Sinner Alcaraz to lose in order to get his chance. He potentially needs Djokovic to lose as well. He's a 0-11 against Novak, and that's a real thing. We'll see Novak at 41 if he's still beating Fritz or whatever, but I wouldn't count him out from doing that. Grigor Dimitrov, I've been saying for the last few years that even before Dimitrov really found his peak form again in 2023, I've been saying for a minute that I still think Dimitrov at his best is about as good as anybody, or as good as anybody, really. He's one of the few players that I feel like can get to peak Sinner Alcaraz level. I really feel that way, and to me, he still has chances to win one, potentially, but age is catching up. He's not healthy. He hasn't been healthy at all. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, he hasn't been healthy at all the last 5 slams. So, big asterisk with Grigor. If he stays healthy, he has a chance. I'm not going to say, he's very hard to trust, Dimitrov. You know, I think everybody in the tennis world as a whole roots for him, and then you often come away disappointed in matches that he really could have won or should have won. But Khachanov, I'd want to mention, I don't really think he's going to win a slam. De Minaur, same thing. Basically, an even stronger version of what I said about Fritz, of just not being really capable of beating Sinner Alcaraz, in my opinion, in best of 5. Rublev, same thing. He hasn't even been past the quarters. It's not impossible. Look at Andres Gimeno's career. But to me, he's not going to. Medvedev, I really thought was going to figure it out at some point at another hardcourt major. To me, he's a guy that deserves more than one hardcourt slam all day. I think very few would disagree with that, honestly. And it's kind of sad the last final that he got to, because he was playing such innovative, for him, tennis, different from how he usually plays, with success. He just got tired at the end of the event, but he was playing incredible tennis. Steph, I don't think... I kind of think Steph is cooked. Tsitsipas, I think he's in big, deep trouble. Casper Ruud, I think on clay, is still a top 5 player on clay. I give Ruud one of the best chances to win a slam. I actually think Tommy Paul might be underrated in this discussion. I wouldn't bet on him to do it. I don't know if I would even bet on him to make a final, let alone, he might not even make another semifinal, but I always think he's underrated. He goes under the radar. He's such a great athlete, all-court player. I think he's one of the guys that I could imagine beating Sinner Alcaraz in best of 5. He hasn't necessarily had the best success in best of 5. I think his stamina needs work, not just in slams as a whole, but also in matches, best of 5 matches sometimes. Bublik's also a 90s player. He has chances. Other players I wrote down: Berrettini, Shapovalov, Tiafoe, Cerundolo. I guess I wanted to mention those guys, but to me, Casper Ruud, I give him a big chance at Roland Garros. I think he will win a Roland Garros title at some point, so I think it could be at least 3 for the 90s gen with him. Tommy Paul, I think, is underrated in the discussion. Daniil Medvedev, he just dropped his entire team. Let's see if he can regroup. I'd mention him. I'd mention Dimitrov, but it seems unlikely just because of his health. Fritz I would mention just because he is one of the best players in the world when he's on, but he needs Sinner and Alcaraz not to be there. And then Sasha Zverev is a mention, but I really just don't, for a while now, I don't think that he's going to get there. So, I mean, when is the Sinner Alcaraz dominance Casper reign going to end? It's hard to say. We might be seeing something unprecedented between just consecutive finals between two players and consecutive amount of slams between two players, potentially. Not yet, but potentially. Federer and Nadal won 11 straight in 2005 through 2007. So not quite unprecedented yet, but who's going to end the reign? I mean, like I said, Casper at Roland Garros. I could definitely see that. I predicted that for this year. I got 3 out of 4 Grand Slam champions right. I said Sinner would win Wimbledon in 2024. I predicted that he would win Wimbledon this year. I predicted Alcaraz would win the US Open. I said Sinner would win Australian Open. Ruud was injured at the French Open, same thing as he was last year. He won his first big title on clay, so I got that, but he was injured at the French. He just was. So yeah, hopefully he's healthy for the French. He's a guy that I could imagine doing it. He would need help as well, I think. At least one of Sinner Alcaraz to lose for sure. He's not beating them back to back. But I mean, I could see him beating some of the best players on clay at Roland Garros. I'm really high on Ruud at Roland Garros. Fonseca is dangerous. Menzik's dangerous. Draper could win Wimbledon, even beating Sinner or Alcaraz. He's beating Alcaraz on grass. So I don't think that will happen next year. I would be less shocked if Fonseca, Menzik, or Casper Ruud win one, but a lot of people are going to be like, Casper Ruud, he's not winning one. Menzik, he's far away from that. Fonseca is very far away. So on paper, it seems like Sinner Alcaraz might do this for a long time. We'll see. We'll see. Tennis always offered, or not always, but sometimes offers some surprises. Whether it was Cilic or Wawrinka won when he won his first, or whatever else. It hasn't offered a whole lot of surprises, but I don't think it's going to go on forever. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Big Three basically did do this forever. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you guys watching. Don't forget to like the video if you haven't already. And yeah, I'll see you guys at the next New Tennis Era podcast.